a larger program that Sandag has called iCommute. Thank you.
Sorry, just get another Swivl.
Of course. So just a quick background on Sandag. Sandag stands for the San Diego Association of Governments. It's the primary agency that deals with research, transportation, and agency in the whole region that represents 18 cities and the county. And basically they have a vision to really help reduce congestion throughout the whole region, helping to facilitate efficient movements of people and goods. And one way they do that is by having strategies to encourage other ways to commute to work. So in addition to driving by yourself, we encourage more of the alternative transportation modes, which would be ride sharing, like carpooling, van pooling, taking transit, or biking or walking if it's usable. And basically, there are several reasons here that I think we all can relate to of why there is this movement to do an alternative way of commuting to work. One is economical, because of course the less car trips are made on the road, then there is less reliance on the freeways. In addition to that, something that might be very relatable on the facilities and operations side is kind of parking. Is there parking available as your company grows, and how do you manage that? As well as environmental, less cars on the road also means less greenhouse gas emissions. And then social well-being, of course, relates to how are you feeling when you get to work. I think a lot of us have experience driving during peak times in the morning or in the afternoons, and it's a standstill. And you can't help but feel a little bit frustrated, and just looking around, you'll see a lot of people who are driving by themselves. So is there a way we can help encourage people to think about sharing a ride to help reduce the congestion? And of course, help our quality of life and overall well-being. So iCommute then is this program from Sandag that actually offers you, as your company, free services to help enhance or develop your commuter benefits program. And so we actually offer some staffed time to help you build a trip reduction plan that you can do with and promote to your company and employees. Again, the goals are to reduce traffic congestion, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and of course reduce the number of people who drive by themselves. And the benefits: save time, save money, and then have a better quality of life. So just a quick overview of the process so you kind of understand how we work with companies is we have a planning, implementation, and evaluation stage. Very similar to any type of plan. And basically during the planning phase, we work with each company to survey your employees to see how they're commuting currently, as well as what modes that they would be interested in giving it a try. And then we also ask questions about what are the challenges to trying a different commute? What are the benefits that would be of interest to you? What motivates you to try something different? So it's a really quick survey, about 10 questions, takes less than 3 minutes to answer, but it gives you a starting baseline of what employees are interested in, so that way we can determine priorities and strategies to promote to your own company. In addition to that, what happens is we also provide a GIS map. So we can always work with HR to get demographic information, but the benefit of doing a survey is people are offering information about the zip code of where they're living at. So there is an initial interest already from the people who are coming from different areas of the region. And we use that information to help pair up people based on their mode of interest. And then using that, like I mentioned, we would help you develop a trip reduction plan that we would help to implement 6 to 12 months. So that way you can see what your efforts are in promoting sustainable transportation. And then, of course, we would evaluate it, doing another survey to see if it's changed behavior, as well as to see what else can be improved on when promoting it to your employees. So it's a great tool to use because it starts the conversation about how do you get to work, and is there a way we can help change your perspective of trying something different, even if it's once or twice a week. So this is just an example of the GIS map for a company here. And you can kind of see where people are coming from. And this was the mode of interest for carpooling. So taking a map like this, we would just see where most of the people are originating from and see which corridors are being used. Because that would be the start of the conversation of, hey, we have a lot of people in the North County. You probably all use the 5. Is there ways to meet near a park and ride along the 5 corridor and take a ride together? And so this just helps to visualize information of where people are coming from based on their interest. Again, extrapolated from the data we would collect. And then, like I mentioned, we're providing this service to you for free. So we actually staff events when we were promoting sustainable transportation choices. So the next couple slides I will go through very quickly just to give you a high level of understanding of some of the programs Standard provides based on mode. So van pooling is essentially a carpool. You're sharing a ride with at least 5 people. So it's just a larger carpool essentially. And this typically works for those commuting a little bit of longer distances, 15 miles or more. What's really nice about this is there is a subsidy if you don't have this already included in your commuter benefits, but you can cite that Sandeck will give a van pooler $400 a month to help offset costs. So that's really a really big benefit. And the partner for van pooling through Sandeck currently is Enterprise. So we would, have and host a formation event where there would be interest from your employees and help them form a van pool, but they would work directly with Enterprise to set up all the logistics for that. And currently we have over 700 van pools in the whole entire region. That's a big number. It has 5,000 van poolers. So if you think about it, that's over 4,000 less cars on the road that are going to and from work. So if we can create more of that, then you'll have a bigger impact on your commute and lessen the congestion. So you can kind of see how big an impact is when you form even one van pool. Then for those who are probably near transit stops, this would probably be a good program to really promote and encourage. It's called Try Transit, and basically Sandeck has partnered with North County Transit District and the Metropolitan Transportation System to offer a program for employees to try transit for a 30-day period. There are requirements in order to qualify for this, but it allows someone to use transit for 8 days at least 8 days in that month period. What's nice about this is there's no cost to the employee, there's no cost to your company. It's again based on the interest that you get from your survey that we could help hold this event. A highly popular resource that we have right now that's actually available at your fingertips is Waze Carpool. How many of you guys now use Waze, the navigation app? So in case you're not sure what that is, Waze navigation app is the app that you use on your phone to see what areas of the road and freeways are congested and free-flowing. So it helps you kind of navigate your path to and from wherever you're going. So in that app that you have now, downloaded on your phone, it allows you to be a driver. So when you are a driver in Waze, then you are allowed to offer a seat in your car to someone who is going to and from your route. The Waze Carpool App is a sister app and allows you to be a rider. So if you don't want to drive to work, you can get a ride from someone going the same way. So it's similar in the sense to Uber and Lyft, where you put your point A and point B, but it's different in the sense that you get to choose who you want to ride with. And the Waze application is really geared towards commuters because there are parameters. One parameter is if you're a driver, you can only give out 2 rides a day, accounting for you going to work and you coming from work to home. And then the other parameter is that you can only charge the driver a maximum of $15. So it's not meant to make money. but it's helping to offset gas costs. And as a rider, you're only paying the driver the 58 cents a mile. So it's very equivalent to your IRS reimbursement rate. So that's where this is a product more for the commuter audience, because it's focusing again the to and from going to work. And then we have the Guaranteed Ride Home program. Through all the surveys that we've done region-wide, one of the top concerns of trying an alternative transportation is because of the need to be home in an emergency. And so Sandag has a program that's free, and you can sign up for the Guaranteed Ride Home program. What this allows you to do is you get 3 vouchers to use in a year for an Uber, rent-a-car, or taxi, depending on how far you live. But this allows you to have a safety net when a family member is sick and you have to rush home. Or maybe your person that you rode with has to work overtime and you need to get home. So it allows you at least 3 times to get home without any cost to you. So the other item here will probably relate more to the HR department, but it's pre-tax. So basically, an employee can get up to $260 a month for pre-tax for transit, van pool, or the Uber and Lyft pool. And that helps to kind of save money for the employees as well as the employer. And there's up to $20 a month pre-tax for bike and walk costs. Of course, to prove this to your HR, you have to make sure pre-tax is in place, and then they have their own method, of course, in your own company to track which mode you're doing. And then, rounding off the kind of portfolio of services by mode is bikes. So there are free bike lockers at transit station and park and rides. There are new stations throughout Oceanside, as well as 1,500 miles of bikeways that is available for anyone to use, and bike education for employers and community organizations and schools. I'll get into the last bullet in the next couple slides, but just so you have some resources available at your fingertips, I brought some bike maps if you're interested in taking that back for your employees, but you can also go to the website Go by Bike SD if you're interested in learning about all the new and upcoming bicycle infrastructure and amenities that Sandag's working on. So some resources here. And then for the participation in the iCommute employer program, we really want to recognize all the employers who are participating. And each employer can participate at different levels, and they get recognized at different levels. So it's a point system based, but Sandag recognizes employers who are active in the program through an annual reception that is held before the board meeting, as well as recognition in the San Diego Business Journal ad. So this is a great way for your company to be recognized to help promote sustainable transportation. Here are some partners. We work with a lot of employers throughout the area. We have a whole team that will help you out, as well as pair you up. We work from large to small employers. The focus, of course, is larger employers, but if there are small companies that are in a business park area or nearby, we can help collaborate an effort where you guys can kind of maximize all your resources together. And then this kind of leads me into Bike to Work Day. So Bike to Work Day is an annual event that Sandag puts on. This year it's Thursday, May 16th, and it's a great event for any company to start promoting. And what's nice is iCommute also helps to prepare your employees for Bike to Work Day through the bike education services. So online on iCommuteSD.com, there is an online form for these services. So the first one is Bike Safety Quick Check, and that is for employees to actually bring in their bikes to get a quick check on their brakes, their chains, nuts and bolts, their seat heights, and just help them prepare their bike to actually ride into work. The second one is a bike class, and then Kevin can also, Kevin from the San Diego Bicycle Coalition can get into more detail, but we coordinate with them to do all these classes. And the bike class is more of a Bike 101. If you have employees who are interested in biking but don't know how to get started, how does one get started? What are the basic bike laws? What is the pathway from here to there? And so there would be kind of a intro class that you can give to your employees. Seasoned riders can also be invited to this class because what happens is it's great to build the company culture for biking. And typically there is a couple of bikers that are more than willing to help and mentor the newbies for Commute. And then the Bike Learn Together, once you're a Diamond Award recipient, this option is available to you, but it's pretty special. It's a customized bike route to and from a location that includes your workplace. So that allows employees to feel comfortable on the road and ride together for the first time if that is something of interest to your employees. So these are all free. You just have to request it. And so these are all great ways to start preparing for Bike to Work Day since it's about a month away. And then Bike to Work Day, again, is Thursday, May 16th. And the early registration is open until Sunday. Early registration allows you to be entered for a chance to win a $500 gift certificate to Moment Bicycles, as well as get your free t-shirt. So there are 100 pit stops throughout the whole region. And basically at each of those stations there is different goodies that partners, Sendex partners are giving away, as well as a free t-shirt that someone can pick up. It's a really fun event. You see a lot of bikes on the road. It's really visual, and I think it creates that high level of comfort that somebody wants to try biking that day. And we get a lot of companies who participate hosting a pit stop as well as just biking that day. And so the pit stops have all been selected already, and so the map for all the pit stops will be available this week on iCommuteSD.com. And so you can check to see where your company is located, so that way you can see what your neighboring pit stop is, so you can kind of promote that, as well as if you're interested, I can give you an employer kit, so that way you have resources and materials to promote it through your company. And then that's it. So that's a lot of information. It's a whole portfolio of different ways and services that Sandag has to help your company promote sustainable transportation. I'm actually going to kick it off now to my colleague Kevin. He is with the San Diego Bicycle Coalition, and we do a lot of partnering during Bike to Work Day as well as just year-round efforts for increasing biking. Yes?
Question. Many facility managers, many companies, you look at sustainability and their diversion, saving of the environment, etc.
Yeah.
So does Sandag help with any development of sustainability reports or some of that reporting if they're using a carpool service or van pooling? Is there anything in that area?
Yes. So we understand there is always some reporting measures that companies will need, especially if you have goals or policies in place for transportation demand management. And so we would work with our team as well as a vendor, if you're using a vendor, to give you the metrics that you need to do reporting.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not like governed by any requirements to do, kind of QMG reporting that other cities have, but we do provide those statistics because that's important to us, and we're doing a proactive strategy, so that way we wouldn't be, getting to the state of requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yes. Oh, sorry. Steve?
The Waze app.
Yeah.
And doing the iCommuter thing via the Waze app, has that been done in other cities, and what has been the history of that?
Yeah, so Waze Carpool, that app has been, I think, 2 years, and we were actually in the forefront of it as one of the cities that was starting to promote it first before it rolled out nationwide. But they've been rolling out in all the major cities. I think San Francisco, kind of just the major hitters that you usually hear from, San Francisco, Orange County, LA, New York. Yeah. Glenda?
The commuter card for public transportation, is that limited to just
going to and from work or any time during that 30-day period?
So you're talking about the Tri-Transit Compass card? Yes. So the focus is to and from work. I'm not there, though, to enforce how they use it off hours. Any other questions before we hand it over to Kevin? Okay, great. I'm sorry, which one's yours, Kevin? Is it that one?
No, that one. Hi.
I should turn mine off.
I like to be loud. My name is Kevin. Everyone say hi, Kevin. I do love presentations at elementary schools, can you tell? So I'll start with my background just a little bit.
Sorry, Kevin. Let me give you
Sure.
this.
The joke I say is I was born with a bicycling helmet on my head. I come from a big bicycling family. Both my parents are real active in bicycling advocacy. And so it was sort of inevitable that at some point I would end up doing this job. It's like my grandfather was a blacksmith, my father was a blacksmith, so now I'm a blacksmith. Same thing, except bike education. So I do a lot of these presentations all over San Diego County. We go to businesses literally from San Ysidro to Oceanside. I was at Legoland yesterday. Other big companies all over the place invite us to do this type of class that I'm going to do sort of an abridged version of now, just by default. The idea is that, yes, it's for people who are interested but concerned about the idea of bike commuting, but we want to make it accessible for everybody. So if you ride every day, there's still something for you to gain from this. And if you've only ever driven your car past someone who is bike commuting, there's information for you there too. Why is this guy in my way? I can answer that. So to start, we give, and I'd like to give you also, the reasons why this is a good idea in the first place. Why would I want to ride my bike somewhere if I have a car? First and foremost is the obvious: personal health and fitness. Money is a good motivator for people, yes. AAA puts the cost of owning your own car at roughly $9,000 a year. That's a car that you've already paid for. It's your car. To continue owning that car, it costs about $9,000 a year. That's maintenance, that's gas, wear and tear, insurance. Depreciation is a big part of that. So, in a way, the less you use that car, that money doesn't go into that pool as much. And so, you can trick yourself. You're paying yourself, basically, right? Every time you get on a bicycle, kind of, in a way. It's more fun, I would argue. And one thing that a lot of times people don't think about, that depending on your commute, it is faster to ride your bike than it is to drive a car. It depends on where you're going. But as an example, our offices are in the middle of downtown San Diego. There's not a single parking spot in all of downtown San Diego. I don't know if you've looked. It's nowhere to be found. So if I want to drive to work from where I live, I have to factor in the fact that I'm going to be circling the block 16 times to find a parking space. That's inevitably going to be a 2-hour spot that I'll have to keep moving out to. It's a whole thing. So depending on where I'm going is going to determine how I get there. We're by no means an anti-car organization. We're a pro-options organization. And I want you to have as many options as possible to you when you leave the house. So where am I going? The default shouldn't always be the car. Maybe sometimes it's the Waze app. Maybe sometimes it's the bicycle. Maybe sometimes it's the bus, etc. I want you to have more options. I think that's a good thing. Oh, pride is good. We encourage people to brag as much as possible. No one cares if you drove to work today, but if you bike, it's, tell people. And then externally, every person on a bicycle is one less person in a car. That's one less person in traffic. That's one less person taking up a parking space. And that's something that sometimes people don't think about. So I like to just shout, you're welcome at every car driver that passes by. It goes over really well. And then for businesses, there's been studies. The one I always like to cite is that while if you arrive to a business by bicycle, your on average purchase individually is smaller, but the odds that you return to that business is much higher. So you're making smaller individual purchases, but you're more likely to go back there more frequently. Additionally, as we saw you can fit more bicycles into the space that you can fit one car parking space. It's a more efficient form of travel, I would argue. Obviously, it depends on the type of trip and where you're going and what you're carrying and all those things. But again, I want it to be a good option for people. All that being said, I heard you guys like complicated charts and graphs, so I brought a couple of those. Safety is a primary concern. When I talk about commuting by bicycle, the first thing that comes into your mind is how safe am I when I'm traveling by bicycle? These are the concerns that I assume you have. Not only people in cars not paying attention, but also things like topography. Is there big hills going up and down depending on where I'm going? Can I carry the gallon jug of milk from the handlebars or not? No is the answer. What to do in an emergency? Is the bike going to be there when I get back to where I left the bike? Is an important question as well. But let's focus on collisions, because I know that that's a concern, and I'm just going to go ahead and address them right away. This is a chart which represents all bike crashes that happened over a period of time in a certain area. The first thing to notice is that almost half of all bike crashes happened completely on your own. This is far and away the most embarrassing type of crash that there is. Luckily, you're alone, so hopefully no one who you know can see you. But otherwise, it's interesting to note that almost half of all bike crashes that happened were you not involved with anybody else. It's you on your own. You hit a curb in a weird way, you weren't looking where you were going, you took a turn too fast, whatever it is. The next thing to notice is that the odds of you getting into a crash with another bicycle are almost equal to the odds of you getting into a crash with a car. Again, pretty embarrassing, but not, the same level of danger. Bike versus animal is small, but it exists. It's in more rural areas. I've been chased by dogs before. It happens. Bike versus parked car and then pedestrian. But let me jump ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and take that 18% car versus vehicle and break that down a little further. So this is in Oceanside specifically, all car versus bike collisions that happened over a period of time. First thing I want you to notice is that it's broken down into two sections, red and blue. Blue is car versus bike crashes that were the fault of the cyclist. Red is car versus bike crashes that were the fault of the car driver. Blue is bigger. More car versus bike collisions were the fault of the cyclist. As a cyclist, I'm thankful for this. This is a good thing. The reason being, I can control for those things when I'm on the bicycle. So personally, if I don't ride on the wrong side of the street and I don't ride on the sidewalk, that's a third of all car versus bike collisions I don't have to worry about anymore as a bicyclist. And the things that the car driver are doing are things that I can avoid. They're things that I can anticipate if I'm biking vehicularly. These are all things that we cover in the bike class. And this is a distilled version of the short version of the even shorter version of the long class that we do. But there's a lot of stuff to talk about. It's a lot of fun. Again, we're not an anti-car organization. We're a pro-options organization. So if you're talking about biking to work, that doesn't mean buying the full spandex kit right away. You can hold off on that and do that later. And it doesn't mean ride every single day of the week. And it doesn't even have to mean ride the whole way there. It can mean put the bike in the back of the car, drive until you're 4 blocks away, jump on the bike, and tell people you rode the whole way. That's fine. No big deal. And then maybe next time you park 6 blocks away, and the next time you park 8 blocks away, and you work your way up. All these things are okay. Buses have bike racks on the front. Trolleys have space for bicycles. There's all these different ways that you can use to get around. And they don't all involve riding 100 miles every day. We talked about bike maps, and we have a couple here. I'd encourage you to take them. I just want to cover them super quick because when you think about traveling by car, you think about yourself in terms of freeways. And when you think about traveling by bicycle, you have all these other options. Some of the options are things like bike lanes. Bike lanes are determined just by that little piece of paint there on the side that says bike lane. They're probably the best place for you as a bicyclist, but there's any number of reasons why you need to leave the bike lane. Sometimes they're striped in a place that's so close to parked cars that's a little bit dangerous if someone opened their car door, so you'd need to move off to the side. Sometimes there's debris in the way. And the bike lane becomes dashed a few yards before every intersection. And that's to tell you as the cyclist you should probably move out of the bike lane if you're going straight to let people know that's where you're going, and it's to let people know that car drivers are going to move into the bike lane to turn. So if you're somewhere and you're driving and there's a bicyclist who's not necessarily all the way in the bike lane, there's a number of reasons for that. One, yes, maybe he's a crazy person who doesn't know how to buy a car and doesn't know anything about biking, or there's a legitimate reason for not being in that bike lane, and that could be any number of things. Bike paths are defined essentially just by their lack of car traffic. That also means that there's a lot of other types of traffic, which includes people with long leashes for their dogs. But the neat thing is, again, when I'm traveling by bicycle, I'm thinking about traveling in a lot of different ways, and they don't all involve just freeways. So now, if Choyas Lake is in between my house and my business, I can then use that bike path to get around instead of taking the city streets. Speaking of city streets, there's also bike routes. These are defined just by the sign. You may have seen these, and I encourage you to look out for them. They're on major thoroughfares, specifically ones that are different than parallel roads. They're ones that are better for one reason or another. They're either wider, they have a higher volume of bicycle traffic. People expect to see more bicycles there, and they know how to interact with them better. There's also these directional signs, which sometimes let you know that you're going in the right way. SPSU 2 miles this way, Balboa Park 1 mile that way. You'll find them on regular city streets. And, again, I'm not thinking in terms of freeways, and I'm not even thinking in terms of higher volume streets. If I'm on a bicycle and El Cajon Boulevard makes me nervous, I'm going to move 2 blocks over, and now I'm in the neighborhood street. It's a little safer, a little slower. I feel more comfortable, and this is an option you have when you're commuting by bike. You don't always have to think about how many freeway on-ramps am I passing. You can do it in a way, and you can figure out how to get around using the bike map that we provide, and Google is getting better at it. The different online mapping services are getting better at. You click the little button that says bike, and they're going to help you get to where you need to go. Who knows what this is? Yeah? Sharing is a good guess.
You're entitled to use the entire lane as a cyclist.
That is also a good guess. There's a specific thing that's interesting about, and I like both of those answers. And the thing that's interesting about both of those answers is both of those answers apply to literally any road. As a driver of a bicycle, I have the same roads, same rules, same rights as a car driver. In fact, any road that a car can drive on, I, as a bicyclist, can drive on. But Kevin, what about freeways? Next time you get on a freeway on-ramp, look for the sign that specifically says bicycles are not allowed on this road. But otherwise, it's all the same roads, all the same rules, all the same rights. I'm entitled to the whole lane when I need it. Specifically, the Shero symbol means that this lane is too narrow to share side by side with a car. When you see this on the ground, it means that lane doesn't have the space that's easily shareable for both a bicyclist and a car side by side. Therefore, the best place for the bicycle is right in the middle of the lane, discouraging unsafe passing. And as an indicator to you as the car driver, the best thing for you to do is not try and pass the bicyclists that is just kind of over to the edge. It's letting you know there's not enough space for you to be side by side. So if there is 2 lanes, you should change lanes to pass. And if there's not, you should wait to pass. A respectful bicyclist is going to be aware of this fact. And in the same way that if you were in a car going up a mountain and you're really slow and you've got 5 or 6 cars behind you, you pull off to the side, I would do the same thing as a cyclist. When it's wide enough to share, then we can pass each other and we can move on. But if you see the Shero symbol, it's specifically an indicator that that lane is not narrow enough, or not wide enough to share side by side with a car. Now you can all say you learned something. Bicycles on sidewalks. The specific rule, I like to cover this one just because it's something you see pretty frequently. If I see a bicyclist on a sidewalk, it's an indicator to me that that infrastructure on the street has failed in some way. Because in a perfect world, you wouldn't feel pressure to be on a sidewalk on a bicycle. You'd feel comfortable out on the road. But that hasn't happened yet. So the specific rule is, in a business district, you're not allowed to ride on the sidewalk, and in a residential area, you are. It's not the best way to get around. There's driveways, there's people coming in and out of businesses, and we don't recommend it. But it's something you see from time to time. So that's, again, the shortest version that I can possibly give. It's hard for me. I have so much more to say to you. And so I encourage you to sign up. We, again, go to businesses literally all over San Diego, and at every one we go to, there's a spectrum of people. And there's the person who used to ride a whole lot but has fallen off a little bit, and there's the person who's thought about riding but they got a bike for Christmas, and that was 10 years ago, and the tires went flat, so it's probably useless now, right? And we can help all those types of people. And so I am really grateful that we get to be involved with this program. It allows us to reach people all over San Diego County, and it's been a great thing for us. And that's about all I got. I would love to take a bike education question so I can show you how smart I am. That'd be fun. Do you have any? Yeah, what do you got?
How much space should a driver give a cyclist when they're riding on the right-hand side?
Legally, 3 feet.
Realistically, 5.
Yeah, absolutely. In a perfect world, every road, I guess, is wide enough to accommodate a parked car, the open door of that parked car, another foot or so of space, startle zone, let's say, space for the bicyclist, another 3 feet of space, and then space for the car driver. In a perfect world, that's how it all works, and that's fine with me. I'd love to share the road with all of you in a way that we're side by side and we're all waving and smiling and happy. That doesn't always happen. And when that doesn't happen, I need to discourage unsafe passing because it's not safe for me. I like to say that, in fact, and it's true, I don't mind a honking horn. If you honk, it means you saw me, and that's okay. I wave back. I use all 5 fingers when I do it. I promise. Because the scarier thing is the person who didn't honk because they didn't even see me in the first place. They had no idea I was there, and they swerved by me with no regard for me at all. That's worse. So 3 feet of space is the legal requirement. I'd prefer a little bit more, sure. And especially when that share symbol is on the road, be aware of the fact that you're traveling in a lane which is not wide enough to share side by side with a car. Yes?
You talked about the sidewalks, and that brings up a number of things.
Sure.
Down in the beach area, South Mission, North Mission, PB, theoretically you're not supposed to ride on the sidewalks. You're
Correct.
supposed to use the alleys going the correct way, where the cars go, or the bay or the ocean. And you constantly see a lot of people down there, whether they're out of town, in town, riding on the sidewalks. The police can legally give you a ticket for that, and they will occasionally if they're really bored.
Yes.
But if you run into someone or a car that's coming out of an alley, or they run into you, it doesn't matter who runs, because the bicycle always loses. They will cite you so that later, when it's determined who really was at fault, you can actually be legally at fault for that accident. The other thing is interesting to me when you're talking about the bike safety is that a lot of people don't understand. They ought to go back to their DMV test. You have to do what you said, at least 3 feet, and a bicyclist is not allowed, no matter what some of our brethren bicycle racers think, they're not allowed to run a stop sign. They think that by keeping going and running stop signs and stoplights, that they're getting a better workout. And ironically, when you think about it, when you stop and start again, you're getting a harder workout because you're really having to stop and start again. You know, it's kind of almost like doing wind sprints. So
I want same roads, same rules, same rights, and that goes both ways. So if I agree to share the road with you, you agree to share the road with me, I'm going to stop at every single stop sign because it's more predictable. First of all, it means that people know what to expect when they see me on the road. I come to the stop sign, I stop. Now it's your turn. Now it's my turn. First come, first served. We all understood these principles a long time ago. But yes, there's a few different issues that I see bicyclists have in terms of I think a lot of it comes. I can almost trace a lot of it back to. I feel like as a kid I heard a lot, ride your bike like you're invisible. Pretend like no one can see you and ride that way. And that causes a lot of problems. It's the opposite of vehicular cycling, which is what we teach. But also, if you act as though you're invisible, you're going to be treated as though you're invisible. So doing things in a way that is predictable, doing things in a way that makes you more visible is always a good thing. And that definitely includes stopping at stoplights and stop signs. Yes?
If you were to be invited to someone's business to talk about this, who would be the ideal person to go to? Someone in HR, someone in facilities? Who would be the best person to talk about getting a company involved in?
The best person to attend the class?
You know, to implement some kind of bike community.
Yeah, person in HR is great. I want to make as many people who are employees of the business attend as possible. Because again, we do this class from the point of view mainly of talking to concerned potential bike commuters. But also, there's something there for everybody. So I want to talk to whoever can get me the most people to come to the event.
I'm curious if you know anything about like the air pollution. Like I know we're not LA, but I'm just thinking in the afternoon, someone's biking 40 minutes to an hour. Does that have a big effect on them in San Diego? Like air quality, like they're breathing in?
If we were at the point that being outside for 40 minutes was worse than sitting in a car, I'd be concerned. I don't think we're there yet. That sounds dystopian and scary. And I don't want to believe that we're there yet. I would argue that, I mean, I can't think of a specific study offhand, but I would argue that the exercise benefits of riding your bike for 40 minutes would be better than any type of potential small amount of air pollution that you'd get in those 40 minutes of being outside. Yes?
What about some other events that I've seen, like, for example, that you do around San Diego?
Sure.
And also Bike the Bay, because I just signed up.
Yes. Yeah, so the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition has been around for literally the same amount of years that I've been alive. It's a fun coincidence. So we're active in a lot of different types of things. The three prongs we use are advocate, educate, and celebrate. So we do a lot of bike advocacy, which means, promoting better bike infrastructure in San Diego, things like that. We do a lot of bike education, which I am heavily involved in, and we do celebration as well. One of the bigger events that we do and are involved with throughout the year is Bike the Bay. It's the one time that you can ride your bicycle over the Coronado Bridge. It's pretty fun. They shut it down to cars, except for 2 lanes off to the side. You get up early in the morning. You start behind the convention center, and you ride up the Coronado Bridge all the way over the other side, great views. And then it's a real flat, easy ride the whole way back. It's down the Strand and back up the other side. There's separated bike facilities for a lot of it. It's really fun, and we get thousands and thousands of people, and we encourage you to come. You can just look up Bike the Bay. But we do, as I said, this is my distilled version of the short version of the tiny class. The longer class happens in a lot of different places. We have a pretty regular class that goes on at Qualcomm and in Mira Mesa, in Oceanside. And we've got monthly classes going on right now at the Copley Price Family YMCA. It's a short 3 hours in the morning. There's an hour of classroom instructional time, much like I'm doing now. There's an hour of riding around a blacktop and making sure your bike handling skills are good, practicing maneuvers, and then 1 hour of going on the street and practicing playing in traffic. It's done in a group setting. It's not a distance ride by any means. We don't go more than 3 blocks away from where we're starting. But we're practicing things like unprotected left turns, right turns, lane positioning, and doing it in a group setting to get you more comfortable before you're riding on the road. One of the things that the Diamond Award recipients can get is that bike, they can get a community bike ride for their business. So we would pick an area that we would ride to. Sometimes we do it at lunch, sometimes we do it after work, before work, and get you familiar with the specific type of bike infrastructure that's around your business. Because we're well aware of the fact that, not every office park has, 50 bike lanes that lead right to the front door. So there's a lot of different ways to get around, and we're aware of that. We want to help you do that. How'd I do? Yeah, one more? Yeah.
You're in Oceanside too?
Yeah, we're the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition, so we literally hold classes all over San Diego County. And there's, perfect. Go to the web.
How do I get from Oceanside to Coral Valley?
Yes. Okay, perfect. So for starters, the bike map is great. And for secondary, our specific website, San Diego County Bicycle Coalition, has links to the classes that we do in Oceanside, and you can find out more information there. There's some great instructors who live in that area. Yes?
How about power assisted?
Yeah, absolutely. They're more popular now than ever. I love them. I don't think they count as cheating, no matter what anyone says. Don't listen to them.
Can they ride in paths?
Yeah. Well, so I won't get into the full specifics of it, but yeah, there are different types of electric bicycles. Class 1 through 4, as far as I remember it, and it has to do with the way in which the bicycle can accelerate. You'll see bike share bikes now, the red ones. They are electric pedal assist, which means that when you push down on the pedal, the bike helps push you forward. It's fun to see other people see them for the first time, especially at intersections, because the main benefit I see from it is you're starting at the same speed that the cars are starting at. So that light changes and you're all moving together. It's kind of cool. It's great for getting up hills. It's great for making you sweat less by the time you get to the office, which is important, I understand. There's all different types. And so there are different rules for different types. If it's more of like a throttle type, then there's different rules for that. And that's worth looking into, but it gets complicated. But they're awesome. They're getting a lot cheaper. The bikes are getting a lot lighter. The batteries are getting a lot smaller. And I think you'll see them more often going forward. Yes?
How'd you get here today, Kevin?
I drove. We're not an anti-car organization. I literally just came from an office park way up by UCSD. Yesterday I was at Legoland, and then 30 minutes before I was at Legoland, I was in Chula Vista giving class to a bunch of elementary school students. I got a lot of supplies. Do you want to hear any more excuses? I have a lot of different ways that I get around. Sometimes I'll use a scooter. Sometimes I'll use a bike. Sometimes I'll use a bike share. Sometimes I'll use my own bike. Again, I want people to have as many options as possible, and I want the bicycle to be as viable an option as the car or the Lyft or the Uber or whatever else it is. Cool. That's a good place to stop. Thank you guys for having me.
Pretty good, huh? I like that. That was a good presentation. You guys are both entertaining, so I loved it so much. So, got here on time, guys. 12:58. Nice. Hey. All right, everyone. Have a good day, the rest of your work day, and we'll see you guys at the next event. Thanks.